Hello everyone and welcome back. I'm Danny and welcome to Project Fern. Today we've got another great video on my lovely Kingfisher Blue 2008 Audi S3. We're going to be getting the car jacked up, we've got stuck calipers, and we're going to be making the rear end brakes go from looking like this with cracked pipes, corroded calipers, corroded brake carriers, to looking like this with brand new pipes, brand new calipers, brand new brake carriers, brake guards, clips, the lot. I'm going to be using all the old stuff and refurbishing that later down the line and just keeping it on the shelf just for a rainy day, as there are quite common issues with the calipers sticking on these cars. But without further ado, let's get it jacked up and have a quick look. As you can see here, the brake discs need changing, they're all grooved, they're lipped. The pads are at an all-time low. This caliper does push back a little bit, but not all the way. It's a near side caliper that's totally seized in place. All the paint's flaking off the calipers. The brake carriers look horrendous too. We've got a split at the back here on one of the brake pipes. I think it's just in the outer rubber, but I've got basically new everything for today. We're going to crack on and get it all done and make it all look pretty again and stop these brakes from squealing. But first, let's have a quick nip over to the bench and have a look what parts we've got and where I've got them from. First on the list is some Pads discs and pads. I got these from Euro Car Parts. They're £129, which I think is quite inexpensive really for these sorts of cars. I've heard of Peugeot GTIs that are like £1,500 for brakes and stuff like that, but I think they're really good value for money. They're inexpensive to replace and I genuinely can't wait to get these on the car. Next on the list is a lovely pair of brand new rear calipers painted in black like you'd expect. The TRW, which is exactly the same as what's originally on the car. I got these from Brakes International and they were £95 each. Originally I bought them from Euro Car Parts. I bought one caliper and it was £125 for a brand new caliper, and they still charged you 60 quid I think for the return caliper as well. So it was a brand new caliper and they still wanted you to take your old one back, which I've never heard of before. So I nipped seeing Jeff at Charlie Street Garage and he said, I'll get them from Brakes International for you a lot cheaper, which he did. I got them, like I say, £95 each, brand new. You don't have to take my old calipers back, which is brilliant because I can restore them myself. And then I just whipped back to Euro Car Parts and took those back and got a refund on it. But they're going to look amazing on this car. As I showed you in an earlier clip, I've got two TRW flexible brake hoses. They were cracked slightly on these rubbers, so I thought while I'm taking the calipers off and stuff, for £12 each, I may as well get these replaced too. I've also got two new brake pipes which go from the caliper into the flexible brake hose. I'm not sure whether there's anything wrong with the old ones, but for the sake of £25 I bought these for the pair. They are in black like the originals, which is brilliant, but I do know that the original Audi ones have like a rubber collar on them, like a sleeve, which I suppose protects the brake pipe from corrosion. But these look really nice. I've seen a lot in silver and stuff. I paid a little bit more for these in black, but again, you'll probably never see them, but I know they're there and I want everything to look absolutely spot on. Seeing as we're going full hog on this car, I've got 4 new brake hose clips, which are £2.99, and for that money, you'd be daft not to replace them too. I struck gold with these off eBay. They're brand new brake pad carriers. Again, TRW. I got these for £100 for the pair. It's usually £66 or £70 a side, but the company had one listed for £66 and I think one for £33, so £99. I've got these lovely brand new brake pad carriers, and that leaves me to get the old ones painted up. In an ideal world, I'd be taking all this stuff off and restoring it myself, but like I say, I drive this car daily. Whatever I do on this car today needs to be finished today because I need to drive home in it. But then with the brake pad carriers. Last major part on the list are these genuine VAG brake shields. I managed to get these off eBay as well. In total, they weren't the same price, but it worked out £40 for the pair. Again, I'll see what condition the old ones are in, but they are known to corrode and go very brittle and usually snap. So I'll be looking forward to putting them on as well, which I just think are going to totally finish off what I'm doing today. Last piece of the puzzle today, some DOT4 brake fluid. I'm going to flush all the brake fluid out when I've done it because there's going to be plenty of air in the system. They're going to need bleeding up. And for this job today, because I've got no one to help me and it's a bit of a pain sometimes doing it on your own, I've bought a manual brake bleeder which uses pressure to feed it through the system. So we'll see how we get on with that later. But for now, I'm just going to get back round to the car and we can get started today. I've given it a bit of a jet wash off underneath this wheel arch and made it look a lot prettier. Eventually I'm going to start stripping all this down and get rid of all this surface corrosion and making all that pretty and get it powder coated again. My main goal for today is to just literally take this caliper off and get these pad carrier bolts out. I've got a super big arrangement of tools here to try and get them off. Apparently they're a pain because of the drive shaft that's in the way. So we've got the M14 spline here, but then I've also got a shallow set as well, which gives you like an extra 10mm of clearance. I've got all sorts of extensions. I've got the beast of a gun, and if need be, I've got a sacrificial breaker bar here that I don't mind smashing to bits with a hammer to crack these two spline bolts off that are at the back of the disc here. So I'm going to crack each side off, fingers crossed, today, and then celebrate, and then we can crack on with doing the rest of the discs and pads and stuff and swapping everything over, because it's quite easy from there. Seen a lot of videos on YouTube where people don't actually show you taking them off. They must be that horrible that they've just drained and just want to get the video finished. But as soon as I've worked out the best way to do it, I'll definitely show you how I've done it and what tools I've used, and if I've had to put loads of extensions together and stuff, I'll show you, and then it'll just make it a little bit easier in future if you guys have to do it. Right, I'm not going to lie to you, that was absolutely horrific, but I've figured out what you need. I've tried the gun, I've tried all the extensions and stuff, but each extension you add seems to take the torque and adds a little bit more like play into the actual like leverage that you've got as such. So on the back here, I 100% recommend you get them 40mm torques, spline bits. And as you can see there, I've got it bent away. I've had to use all my force to push that up. I'll just come underneath and show you. So you can see that top one there. And I've used a 40cm bar. That's the only thing you can get in. But they started to turn now, top and bottom. That's the only tool I've used, that 40cm bar, sorry. Let me just wiggle it off. That 40cm bar with the M14 spline on top, the shallow one, the 40mm one that came in this set. Now this set was 26 quid, but you're still going to save a lot of money than sending it to Audi or getting someone else to do it. It's just be prepared for a little bit of a battle. The fun's not over yet, I've got to do the other side, but now I know what angle I need to go at, fingers crossed, it should be a little bit easier. So I'm going to put the caliper back on this side, bolt that back up, get the wheel back on. I know it sounds a bit of a stupid way of doing it this, but I need to know that I can get both carriers off before I then start taking brake pipes off and stuff, because I still have to move this car around in the unit. So good luck to anyone who wants to do this. It's definitely doable. Like I said, I probably pulled me back doing it, but both them bolts are now loose. I've used some of that crack it spray again, which I swear by. I don't know how I'm going to get on the other side now I've run out of that, but we'll only find out when I get doing it. So I'm going to get this rebuilt now and just do that other side. The passenger side just come off a lot easier now I know what angle to go in at. So like I say, the bottom underneath, I'm just going at it with the 40cm breaker bar and that spline M14, and then on the back here I'm almost at like this angle. Sorry, I weren't showing you on the camera then, but it's a bit further in so you can get your body behind it. Like I say, make sure your car's on axle stands and stuff. The suspension does flex a little bit when you're doing it, but they've just come off a lot easier. I don't know if they're a bit more corroded on the driver's side and seized in a little bit more, but I did give these a bit more of a wire brush off. I didn't even use any penetrating fluid or anything, so maybe this side's been worked on a little bit more in the past, but I'm just buzzing with that now. I'm going to call it a day there for today. I'm just going to get the wheel put on. I didn't even take the caliper off on this side. I could get to them easy enough. So I'm going to put the wheel back on now, build it back up, and then check back in tomorrow and get started stripping everything down properly. It's a few days later now since I managed to crack them carrier bolts off. We're going to get stuck into the car today. I'm basically going to be taking everything off apart from disconnecting the caliper. I'm going to do that last. Just want as little air going into the system as possible. And like I say, we've got all new pipes to replace this cracked one. New pipe to the caliper as well. So I've been to Audi and I've actually bought some brand new carrier bolts. They are a modified item now from Audi. They used to be 70mm long and they're now 65. I don't know if that's to stop them seizing at both ends. But when I spoke to the parts advisor, they confirm that they do replace these when they do rear discs and pads. They are a one-time use item. They're apparently called stretch bolts. Don't know what that means, but they're about £20 for 4 bolts, which is quite expensive really, but I'd rather replace them if that's what needs doing to do the job properly. But I'm going to crack on now and get this caliper off, get the carrier off, start working on this section, and then hopefully we can disconnect the caliper at the end and get it all swapped over and built back up. So the next job I'm going to do is get the brake carrier off, which is there. I'm going to get underneath the car, and I'm still literally just going to use this 40cm breaker bar with the stubby M14 spline. I'm going to work both off now. As you saw in the previous clips, I've managed to crack them off with some absolute sheer force, and fingers crossed now it's just a case of slowly working them out until I can get hopefully a ratchet on them when they slack enough, and I can get them out a little bit easier rather than working with the breaker bar. So that's the bottom one out. As you can see, there's a point on the end there. On the new one, they've taken that off, which obviously gets rid of that 5mm, that's 65mm, so that's 70mm. I don't know if that's a point where the corrosion happens and stuff. Let me just try and zoom in on that. Sorry, focus. But it does look heavily corroded around that point there, and I don't know if that's what causes them to be so nasty when you're trying to get them out. But that was not pleasant to get out then with my fingers. It's quite tight still in there. Just takes a bit of time. I'm going to get the top one out now. This top bolt's just took me about 10 minutes to get out. Really tricky, really tight. I worked out as much as I could until the breaker bar butt up against part of the suspension, and then I've had to get the wobbly extensions in and stuff and managed to get the gund off. Hopefully it won't be too mad putting it back in. I'm going to put some Loctite on these bolts as well. But now, thank God, this carrier can be removed. I'm going to clean up the contact points behind. I'm going to continue to take this disc off now and then get this brake guard off as well. We've got 3 Torx 30s to get off now. I'm just going to give them a quick squirt with some penetrating oil. And I'm just going to leave them for 5 minutes because I don't want to round them off, and I'm going to buzz them off with a gun. Miss one. There we go. Just used the 1 pair of gloves so far, which I think's a world record. Let's see how many I used during this whole job. We've got a bit of an issue with the new brake guards, whatever you want to call them, dust guards. This was the part number that was listed for them, which is clearly wrong. They've got the bigger brakes on these cars. I should have triple checked really, but I just didn't think. I've lined them both up, and unfortunately they are totally different. I'm going to take a picture of this part number, what's on here, and I'm going to order right ones, and next time I do the disc and pads on the back of this car, I'll swap them over then. But for today, I'm going to clean this one up, get some paint on it, and get it back on, see how it looks. Hopefully it doesn't look too bad once it's cleaned up. I'm just going to have to do whatever I can today, because like I say, this car's run out of MOT now. I want to get it back on the road and start enjoying it again. Bit gutted about that, but these things happen. But I will list the right part number down below, so people get the correct ones if they want to replace these as well. I've given this brake shield, whatever I've been calling it, I've called it about 50 different things. I've given it a right good scrub, I've given it a degrease, I've then given it a good scuff with a red Scotch pad, and I've just wiped it down with some panel wipe now, just to get anything off it that might still be on it. I'm going to heat it up a little bit now and get some spray paint on it. There's actually nothing wrong with this heat shield at all, dust shield, whatever you want to call it, apart from where the paint's come off it. There's no damage to it, there's no dents in it or anything like that. So hopefully with a couple of coats of paint while I finish the back brakes off over there, we should be flying with it, and it should look like new again. Only this top lip I think's exposed anyway, but we'll see how we get on with it, and I'll get some paint on it now. That's the third coat of paint on. I'm just going to let that dry now. It's gone on really nice, and to be honest with you, it looks brand new. So I'm really happy with that. So I'm going to crack back on now with the brakes and start getting that caliper off and cleaning the surfaces up and stuff. So while that brake guard's drying, I'm just going to go around now with my little wire brush and just clean all these mating surfaces up, all around here as well, give it a good clean and get it ready for being built back up. I've just squirted some WD-40 penetrating fluid on this union at the back there. I'm going to disconnect that in a minute. I've got some bleed nipple caps that I'm going to put on the pipe that's staying in, and then once I take that off, hopefully it won't draw too much air in, and then I can take this caliper over to the bench, match it up with the new one that's going on, make sure the pipe's at the right angle and stuff, and get it put back on. First job is I'm just going to prise this clip off and just remember which way in it goes. I've sprayed it with WD-40, so it shouldn't be, yeah, there we go, it shouldn't be too hard to get out. So it went with the tail facing down. I'm going to get a spanner now and the brake pipe spanner, and fingers crossed we can crack that off. I'm going to have a quick go and get some crack it on these anyway, and then get it whipped off and get this temporary bunged up, and then we can start putting everything back together. So it's a 17mm spanner on top, and it's an 11mm nut on the bottom. I'm just going to spray some crack it on it and hopefully freeze it a little bit. Right, so that feels like it's cracked off, so I'm going to whip that off now, get the bung over the top, and it should give me access to this caliper then. I've got the brand new caliper lined up next to the old one. I've got to put the flexi pipe on, the brake pipe, and also a clip. I just want to match that natural bend of the pipe there. I'm not going to tighten everything up as we are. I'm just going to get all the connections together, finger tight. So if I need to adjust anything when the new caliper goes on, I've got a little bit of play to move a few pipes around and stuff like that. But I'm going to crack on with that now and get these put onto the new caliper, and then I can get it reconnected to the vehicle. That's everything swapped over. Not happy about the clip, the angle of this clip. I'm going to try and match it as much as I can to the original. I'm going to take it back off now and hammer it back on. But as far as I'm concerned, the new pipe, it can only go on one way. There's like grooves set in this bracket here. So I'm just going to take this clip back off, put it in at the same angle as that, and then get this put back on the car. That's the brand new caliper on, clips in place, everything cleaned up, pipes are tight, not leaking, floor's been cleaned as well. So I'm just going to go and get the brake guard now, put that back on, and then we can start building the brakes back up. That's the brake shield back on. It's come up absolutely perfect. I'm really chuffed with that. No need to buy a new one. I've had the heat gun on it and stuff, 3 coats of gloss black paint. And these screws here have been torqued up to 10 Newton meters. I'm going to get the disc on now, and then we can start doing that brake carrier. That's the brand new disc on. This is looking absolutely mint now. You can see the new caliper, the brake guard's been painted, the lovely new disc. Screws been torqued up to 5 Newton meters as it says in the manual. Next, we've got this lovely new brake carrier to go on. I've got to get them bolts in, which might take a bit of fiddling around. No point filming it as you can't see under the car. But they have to be torqued up to 100 Newton meters and then 90 degrees. So it's going to be fun trying to get the torque wrench in there. But we'll do it. I'm going to crack on with that now. That's the brake carrier on. Torqued up to 100 Newton meters. Absolutely buzzing. And then I managed to get the breaker bar in and finish it off and get it over 90 degrees. Tough job getting to this point. It's always harder stripping stuff down. It's not usually the case. It's usually the fun bit stripping stuff down. But it's going together really nice now. I know you can see there's a bit of surface rust on these subframes and stuff. That will all be getting rectified. It's all going to be being stripped down. This car spent a couple of years down in Cornwall, so it's a bit salty down there. Obviously I had a good look under this car when I went and bought it, and I could just see it was just on subframes and metal items like you can see on the shocker and stuff. But I really enjoy getting all that stripped and powder coated. But now, let me get my breath back. I'm going to get the pads in, get the caliper on, and we'll check back in after that. So that's the brake shims in and the new brake pads. With this carrier, it came with a new set of rubbers for the caliper, but they've already got them in. The greases for putting in as well. But as I'm using a new caliper, that's all brand new. Comes with 2 new caliper bolts as well, which are torqued up to 25 Newton meters. So I'm going to get the caliper on now. And that's pretty much it done, I think. Well, there you go. All the struggles, all the pain, but they look absolutely unreal now. Got the new calipers, new brake pads, new brake disc, got the brake guard, got the brake carrier, all new bolts, new pipes on the back, all tight. So the next job is get this caliper bled up now, and then lucky for me I can do the other side. I don't have to film anything. It'll take me 10 times quicker, and I can get today done and get this car in for its MOT. I'm going to be using the Sealy VS 820 V4 today. This is a 1-man pressurised manual brake bleed. I'm going to be connecting that to the brake reservoir, which is down there. I'm going to pipette all the old fluid out first to the minimum level, top it back up to the maximum level, and then connect this up and pressurise the system. Before I bleed the brakes, I'm going to pump it up to about 18-20 psi, and then I'm going to leave it for about 5 minutes, make sure there's no leaks in the system, and then I'm going to work my way down to this wheel here, which I've already got it set up with the bleed bottle, 11mm spanner on the bleed nipple down the back there, if you can see it, and then get this caliper bled up, and then this side will be pretty much done. So I've got the bottle pressurised to 18 psi. I'm just going to leave that for 5 minutes now, make sure there's no leaks in the system. I've double checked all the pipes, all the unions, make sure there's no brake fluid leaking out of them, and then I'll crack that bleed nipple off. That's this side complete, all bled up. Caliper's gone all hard and not rocking on the pins anymore. Brake pedal's nice and hard as well. So next job now is I'm going to get the other side stripped down, and then I'm going to have some lunch and get it built back up, and then we can get this video ended. That's the passenger side done as well. A lot more stress free when you don't have to film it. Sprayed the brake guard on this side as well. It was a little bit more corroded due to the heat damage and stuff. New pads, new discs in, new everything's on now, new pipes, all tightened up. I've just got to bleed this side and then get it dropped back down on the floor, pump the brakes, quick road test, and I think we're done for the day. The Audi is finally back on the floor. I'm absolutely buzzing. We've had a full rear brake restoration, replace everything I can. It's been quite a slog, this. Definitely doable. Like I say, hopefully the tips and like little things that I've come up against in this video will help you guys when you decide to do it. It is possible. I've shown you it's possible. I've done it on the floor. Wasn't the best experience in my life, but I've done it. Brake fluids all topped up. It was a little bit over full, so I've used turkey baster again to take that out. Pump the brakes, everything seems fine, so I'm going to go on a test drive now and make sure everything's all right with the car. I'm not going to lie to you guys, I'm absolutely drained after that job. It's gone on now for weeks, this. Trying to get the bolts off, getting bolts, getting bits, finding out what I need to do, finding out how I do it. But I've done it and I'm absolutely buzzing with myself. I've done it on the floor, don't want to meddle or anything like that, but it is hard work. Would be 10 times easier with a ramp, but not everyone has a ramp. I've only used the big gun in terms of power tools. I've torqued everything up, which I've gone through in this video. I spent about £500 back there, but which is definitely worth it considering how much that job would have cost to have done at Audi. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's been informative, and if you're planning on doing it, I hope you see any snags I've come up against and it helps you out when you go to do yours. So please, as always, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and any comments, put them in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next video.